The interview. I was returning from a mid-river mission with some containers of stolen diesel inside my boat, steering the little old engine for all I was worth when I spied my precious lost love Adesua, whom I'd been frantically searching for all this while without success with her mother in a certain isolated bank of the river just by the outskirts of Iganabode town, dressed in their religious white outfits and offering sacrifice to the river. "Wow, these two women again!" I screamed. Now my heart, my veins, and every other thing that was quiet inside of me became suddenly alive and super active. I wanted to fly off above the river with the speed of an aircraft, or the speed of a rocket, as the original speed of my boat upon the water could no longer be what I needed now, but naturally I was limited. I revved the engine to full throttle and drove down the waterway in haste, with the desire of arriving at our small quay as soon as possible, dropping the contraband goods I was carrying and returning back in time to catch up with Adesua, burning exceedingly in my mind and burning unrestrainedly in the hands that operated the motor. I missed out on her the first time I saw her, and this second time I must lay hold on her, I thought, else maybe I would run mad. Then I noticed a certain security boat approaching from behind with a very great speed, disquieting me. "Oh dear," I cried, for I thought, will this pursuit expedite my movement or delay it more? Why was I being pursued? What have I done? I was already running at full throttle. How could this old engine rev itself more than this, and other that I might escape from this hot pursuit? They were drawing closer and closer to me every second, screaming angry words to me and ordering me to stop. I remembered trying to maneuver and avoid ramming into their boat, which had already begun to overtake and cross my path, and I also remembered a stone traveling at the speed of a bullet towards my head, fired from the sling of one of the officers, and after that, no more. I sank into a state of total darkness. "What's your name?" came a strange, wolf-like voice out of nowhere. "Ejike," I answered. The next thing I heard after that were just strange and disquieting animal-like sounds, with the disturbing, harsh roar of a tall, angry wolf in the midst of it. "What is your surname? Where are you from? Where do you live?" were just some of the words I managed to grab out of the midst of the disturbing sounds, and I chafed more and more under the disturbances, and I shouted in anger, "Keep quiet!" And maybe I was right to be angry, as I was seeing no face. I don't know how many hours or days that could have transpired within this time. Then the world began to take a clearer shape, and very gradually I saw that I was sitting upon a desk in a small, dark room with my head leaning upon the desk. I lifted up my head gradually to see a woman dressed like a nurse disappearing through the door. Two police officers standing by the door, another one standing in the middle of the room, and the fourth officer, a broad-shouldered, fierce-looking, dog-like kind of man, standing across from me and staring at my face very sternly. I remembered immediately my haste to conceal my boat with the contraband goods contained inside of it, as well as my haste to catch up with Adesua by the riverbank, and I wondered why the hell I was being detained and delayed in this hovel, and what manner of dog meeting was going on there, and lifting my right hand to the side of my head, I was shocked to find it had been bandaged. "What?" I angrily inquired. "Have you woken up fully now?" the officer asked me, but I did not answer because I found the question too foolish and irrelevant. "I have obeyed your order, and I've remained quiet since then," he said. "But since you are back to your senses now, I have to proceed, and I hope you'll answer more clearly now. Where did you get those containers of diesel we found in your boat from?" The desire to go after Adesua burned in my head vehemently, and I thought, would to God this man understood I have no time to answer any question about that diesel, and made this interview of his very snappy for the benefit of my haste. "It's my diesel," I said. "Where'd you buy it?" "I bought it at Idatown." The man showed me a clenched fist and a face as savage as an old, dangerous, man-eating wolf. "If you tell me another lie again, I'll ram this thing in your forehead and open up the other side and send you once again to another sleep. This one is going to take you 3 weeks to wake up." "What is the name of the staff that supplied you those containers of diesel?" he asked, menacing me with his ugly dog-like face. "No staff," I said. "I told you. I bought that diesel in the town." He whipped me a hot slap with the back of his hand, and I fell back, with small, fiery stars filling the area around my eyes. I kept silent, trying to recover from the slap first, and he came out yet more menacing. "You are a very dangerous rogue, And if you are not careful with your words, I'll kill you. The company management have ordered us to fire any bandit we see around any of their vessels trying to steal anything, he pointed out. I didn't go near any of their vessels, I said. Then where did you get the diesel, he asked. Officer, believe me, I said, I did not take this diesel from any of your vessels, and I did not do any business with any of your staff. He shoved his dangerous paws into my face and squeezed my face, pushing my head backward and menacing me more with his wicked, beastly face. You are a very hard-hearted criminal, and you are going to die for the sins of the other people. He gave me one more violent push on my head and then withdrew his hand. Why then did we see you coming from the direction of the vessels, and what did you go to look for there with the containers of diesel you were carrying? He roared on top of his voice. Officer, I said, it's a general waterway, so anyone can pass there any time. I froze in terror as I saw his clenched fists coming with full force in the direction of my head. I tried to dodge, but it was too late. The blow that he dealt me sent me into a strange sleep, in which I dreamt of hollowness and of bright stars and hot fireballs raining upon my head. He yanked me again by my neck and shook me vigorously, shaking me out of my sleep and shaking me back into reality, with his eyes burning as though they were set on fire. You are a member of that criminal gang that troubled those river vessels, he scowled, aren't you? Tell me! I did not answer for fear of being sent into another sleep again, but unfortunately my silence that I thought would save me became an invisible finger that struck his own invisible cord of anger, for he quickly grabbed a pen on the desk and prepared to stab me. You won't answer till I'm not, I quickly answered to avoid the pen. What is your occupation? He asked. I'm a diver, I answered. As in a diver in a high sea, or which kind of diver? A diver in this river. I dig sand from the riverbed for a living. Are you married? No. How long have you been digging sand in this river? Over 10 years ago. Do you always buy diesel in containers and transport them along this river? Sometimes. Do you transport them to where you'll sell it, or where you'll use it? To where I'll use it. How many of those 25-liter containers does your engine need at a time? On a very busy day of work, the engine may take up to a full container. But you were carrying 4 containers of diesel in your boat. Yes? What will you then do with the rest containers? The rest containers will go into the other boats in my team. But your boats do not run on diesel. They run on petrol. It's not petrol, officer. It's diesel. What if I take a sample of whatever is in your tank and find it to be petrol? You can't find any other fuel in there apart from diesel. Okay, he nodded. Let's see. He turned and faced one of the younger officers behind him. Get a little sample and let's test it. The officer disappeared through the door, and I wondered when this whole interrogation would finally stop and permit me to go out to meet my dear Adesua. And now a deep urge for both weed and dry gin had started growing inside me to compound my woes. I checked the time on my wristwatch, as if by that I could discover how long I'd been detained in there. But it was all foolish. I could not tell if I'd been in that room for hours, or for days, or even for weeks. I shifted my gaze from my wristwatch to the closed windows, and then to the dirty ceiling, already restless, expecting the worst to happen any moment soon, but never wishing to be detained further, anything more than a few minutes, as that could be disastrous. Then that younger officer later re-entered with a small, transparent plastic bottle containing some fuel. It's petrol, he said as he handed the plastic bottle over to the senior officer, who opened the bottle, smelled it, and put a little sample in his finger. And as he raised the finger up to his nostrils to smell it, I could notice his face grow stern in anger, so that he looked like a very savage beast. He yelled at me, on top of his voice. Is this not petrol that I have here? Why did you lie to me? I did not lie to you, officer, I said. It's diesel I'm using in my tank. Is this not petrol? He shouted angrily. Look at it. It could be petrol or kerosene or even urine in there taken out of wherever. But that does not change anything about the fact that my boat runs on diesel. This is from your tank, mister. There was a very serious warning tone and hatred in his voice. Perhaps, yes, but I still maintain that it's diesel that powers my engine. How dare you lie to me? The evidence is here in my hand, and you are still denying. I kept silent. If you don't answer me, I'm going to pour this petrol on your body and set you ablaze, he warned me. Diesel and petrol smell alike, I said. So the fuel in there, if it is from my tank and it smells like petrol, how is it my fault? I've warned you, but you are still denying. He pounced upon my head with the fury of an angry lion, and then everything went temporarily blank. I mean everything, except my mind, as the old desire and haste to go out and meet Adesua lingered, albeit somewhat distorted, as well as the growing urge to go out and take some weeds together with the knowledge of a very fierce, tall, broad-shouldered, saber-toothed, wolf-like beast towering over me, growling fiercely and baying at my small, timid, captured body. And I myself crying out in fear, begging for mercy, begging to be released, begging for a little pinch of weed, and begging for a little drop of alcohol. I tried to reach out to the uncertain rolls of weed hanging around my head in order to comfort myself a bit, but without success. I chafed more and more under this unjust restraint and called, "Weeds! Weeds! Weeds!" and tried to get up and escape, or at least to pace a bit to and fro on the uncertain floor. But that unrelenting canine captor of mine wouldn't let me budge an inch, with his stern, horrible canine visage, which was always set against my own timid face, and his white, naked, and dreadful set of fangs that shone like filed pieces of silver, which were always against my flesh, waiting for that dreaded moment in which he would begin his feasting. And when I became more conscious of my surroundings, I saw the senior officer sitting upon the table across from me, laughing, the first time he ever laughed. He pointed to the part of the wall where a circular no smoking sign had been drawn with the sketch of a cigarette in the center. "You can take that one and smoke," he said, still laughing. "Since I don't have any weed to offer you, I've offered you the only available cigarette in the room." But I didn't budge. I sat glued to my seat, staring at the sign, wishing the sketch could leave its two-dimensional state and metamorphose into something tangible enough to pick up and smoke. Then he took a cigarette from his jacket pocket and offered it to me, and I gladly reached out to accept it, but he pushed it away. He took a lighter from the same pocket, lit the cigarette, and put it away. Then he started smoking, inhaling the smoke and blowing it over my face while I watched him intently, hoping that before he was halfway through he would hand it to me, but he didn't, until he had smoked it down to the butt before he was generous enough to offer it to me. Well, I thought, the butt end of it is better than none, and I gladly stretched out my hand to receive it, but surprisingly he dropped it on the floor and crushed it with his foot. I became very angry and wanted to protest in a violent way, but I decided to keep calm for the time being. "Officer," I said, "release me and let me go."
He did not reply. He just sat staring along a different direction, and with his mobile phone raised to his ear, I heard him make a snappy conversation. "Officer," said he, "I have here with me a suspect. Come and pick him up immediately." He lowered the phone away from his ear and remained silent. "You don't have any evidence with which to arrest me," I pointed out to him. "You are mad," he retorted, turning his face to me. "The evidence is in your boat." "Some few containers of diesel are in my boat," I said, "and containers of diesel are sold out there freely to anybody that has money to buy, yet you said you have evidence." "You were lucky I did not fire you down and send you to hell straight away when I saw you with the diesel," he said. "That is why you have guts to talk." "Why would you want to fire me?" I asked. "Did you catch me red-handed in an armed robbery operation?" He brought out his pistol from his pocket and robbed the mouth of the pistol. "I may have to kill you before the officer arrives here, since you are not ready to cooperate." "What have I done?" I asked loudly. "What is my offense?" I banged on the table with a great force, springing up from my seat at the same time to protest. I remembered a violent swing of his pistol in the direction of my head, and the next thing I remembered was finding myself in a certain gloomy, uncanny, and hollow place with the uncertain image of Adesua floating around me, and we communicated under some kind of strange and unintelligible code. I also remembered traveling as a returnee or something of that sort in the middle of my own maze of confusion and haste, traveling across obstacles, disorientated by reason of the obstacles, searching here and there for that one road that might be a bit more passable, limping on exhausted feet along the uncertain roads, and bearing vividly in my mind the knowledge of the haste, which was my main driving force, together with the equal knowledge of a certain stout and stubborn bloodhound that refused to quit following me for an instant as though I were a kind of deer, or as though, for the absence of a deer, he had taken me as game instead. He bayed ceaselessly at my small, frightened, and desperate heels, and I, engulfed by fear, would stop to pacify him, laughing superficially, pretending to be happy, pretending to be nice to dogs, stroking him fondly, calling him good companion and gentle soulmate, promising him candies, promising him jellies, and soon the knowledge of the foolishness of trying to tame a strange, wild dog would dawn upon me. Me, who had always been a dog eater and had never been friendly with dogs once, and seeing him a bit calm and believing he had forgotten about me, had probably slept off, I would sneak away again, eyeing him warily, smiling foolishly, and gloating at my success in driving that wild canine beast to sleep, only for his anger to be rekindled and leap upon me again, provoked by my stealthy departure, provoked by my deception, and provoked by my unfaithfulness, and once again, I would begin to think of newer approaches to pacify him, newer ways to deceive him, newer apologies to make, newer things to promise. And at another moment, I was sitting in a small cage hanging unsteadily from nowhere and hearing all my sins reeled out under a sinister and merciless atmosphere, checking my watch impatiently from time to time and begging to be released for the benefit of my haste, but denied by my relentless watchdog, my ever-vigilant timekeeper. Me, who had earlier anticipated an encounter of my lifetime with the very diva of the Niger, and just on the cusp of that golden moment to be trapped inside this vicious enclosure and ruining my greatest chance in life. There was actually no such time like that unique hour and day, and even a delay of a minute would have resulted too fatal. But now, I'd lost that precious hour with that unique day, the type of which I would never find again.